And we're still here in Ways and Means, and today's Friday, February 13th. 1 o'clock. Joined by Jen Carby. Thank you. We are ideally finishing up H577, and we have some updated language. Thank you so much for all your work on this, Jen.
No problem. For the record, Jen Carby from the Office of Legislative Counsel. I will put draft 2.3 up. Reason it's two, I think yesterday you saw 1 point something, and then I made it 2.1 and worked with folks offline. So that's why it's now 2.3, because I made a couple of updates based on comments.
Thank you.
Sure. So this is a new strike all amendment. It incorporates what was in yesterday's strike all. So everything that was underlined and crossed out yesterday and highlighted is just out. And anything that is newly, that is bold or highlighted is new to this draft. It's just so you can keep track. So we still are in section, so this, just by way of refresher, is an act relating to establishing the Vermont Prescription Drug Discount Card Program. And the first instance of amendment strikes out section 1 and puts in a new section 1, still creating this new subchapter on this prescription drug discount card program. But now we have in subsection C some new or revised language saying that monies received from the program and I'll explain the strike of appropriations in a moment, from transfers, gifts, grants, donations, or any other source, including any monies provided to the state through a cooperative arrangement authorized by this section, shall be deposited in, this is an existing special fund that we're expanding, in the Financial Literacy and Economic Empowerment Trust Fund established pursuant to 32 VSA Section 111, which will be amended in the second instance of amendment, and shall be available to the Office of the State Treasurer to defray costs associated with administering the program. One of my last changes was to strike appropriations when I was reminded by Emily from JFO that we do not appropriate for deposit in a special fund, which we transfer into a special fund, but we wouldn't put monies appropriated and deposit them in an existing state fund. So that's why that is struck. It doesn't mean the money can't be, doesn't mean money can't be appropriated to the fund, to the program, but anything that is received from all these other sources would go into this fund. That is the only change in that section. And then there's a new second instance of amendment, adding a new section 3A, and I just put new, so I didn't have to highlight through the whole thing because nothing has changed. You haven't seen this one before. This amends the existing Financial Literacy Trust Fund in Title 32. So this is the fund that was referred to in that new language in the first instance of amendment. And some of this is just a little bit of cleanup. So it would say that there is hereby established, we don't have to both establish and create, that's redundant, established a special fund entitled the Financial Literacy, and then it would add, and Economic Empowerment Trust Fund, to be administered by the state treasurer. And it already had 2 purposes listed as the purpose. Since I was adding a third one, I made it purposes. The purposes of the fund are, and we keep the first 2 as existing, same as existing law, promoting the adoption of fiscally sound money management practices by Vermonters and creating opportunities to build and encourage development of new financial literacies and educational products. I changed Vermont citizens to Vermonters just because the Vermont citizen is not really a legal thing. So Vermonters is a little casual, but at least it is, we have Vermont residents, we have US citizens, Vermont citizens. That's not great. So, and then adding a new one of supporting other economic empowerment opportunities for Vermonters. And there is a division of economic empowerment in the treasurer's office that oversees a lot of these kinds of programs. So that's why we use that terminology. And then again, we're deleting the reference to the fund receiving state appropriations. Again, that's not how the appropriations work. And then just clarifying that monies in the fund is really what I think is intended by the funds. Monies in the fund may be expended in accordance with the trust fund provisions of section 462 of this title. That's just moving that language from the end of the existing sentence. So in accordance with those provisions for such financial literacy projects as the treasurer may direct, and then adding, and to defray costs associated with administering the Vermont Prescription Drug Discount Program established pursuant to that new subchapter.
And so just to make sure I'm understanding what we're doing here, if I
Yes.
summarize and you could.
Great.
Okay. Instead of creating a new special fund, which is what I did before, we are expanding an existing special fund. And to expand that existing special fund, you went into the description of that special fund, and while you were in there, you found that there was some language that could have been updated, but no one was going to bother if no one was going to touch that fund. Since you touched the fund, you cleaned up some of the language.
That is exactly right.
Great.
Thank
Okay.
you. Probably should have led with that. Yeah.
No, it's fine. I just want to make sure I was understanding. Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay.
And then finally, we have a new third, I guess, what was the second instance amendment became the third one, which is just deleting that language from the implementation report about any fees to be charged to participants.
And so in doing this amendment, again, we are removing the vast majority of our jurisdiction over this. And it's really the removal of the fees language since there's no fees charged by the state. The cleanup of the special fund is partly to do a favor to the appropriations committee. So we don't have to.
Avoid having similar amendments done in that committee. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, we don't need to double amend the same paragraph there. Any questions for Jen?
Just to be clear, was I think you've already said this, but the economic empowerment language was added so that this could be broad enough to account for potential costs related to array RX.
Right. The existing special fund that is being used, that is already administered by the treasurer's office, is the financial literacy fund, or at least it's one of them. So it's expanding, yes, expanding the scope of that fund and authorizing the monies to be deposited and taken from there for administration of the program.
And because we're just looking at instances of amendment, that appropriation is still in the underlying.
Yes, the appropriation and all of the insurance language is still in sections 2, 3, and 5. Yes.
Anyone else?
So I hate to ask about the fund.
Yeah.
That exists, but, so I don't know if it's appropriate for us to ask about the adequacy of the fund to cover its other purposes in there, but can you talk about that at all? Is that a Nolan thing?
I cannot, and I'm not sure
There's someone from the treasurer's office.
if the treasurer's office
Okay,
might be.
let us finish with Jen and then we'll
Okay,
go
yeah.
ask the treasurer's office. Okay, any other questions for Jen? Seeing none, thank you so much, Jen. If you could give us a cleaned up. That'd be great,
Let's
thanks.
do that one. Carry from others.
Someone from the treasurer's office want to come sit in the chair? David Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, David Scher, Deputy Treasurer. I will give a brief overview or our response to the work that's been done here, answer the question about the fund, and then one other brief note. And obviously, I'm happy to redirect or answer questions at the committee's pleasure. We certainly support these latest changes to the bill. Bottom line for us is just trying to effectuate what we are trying to accomplish in setting up this program, or the piece of it in particular, which would allow our office to receive any such fees that may come down to us through the sequence of the way the way the fees would happen, as has been talked about in more detail in prior testimony. And we very much appreciate the work that Joint Fiscal Office, Legislative Council, and our own General Counsel have done to nail this down and make sure that all the legal pieces are correctly in place in order to allow that to happen. We're grateful that the committee took the time to allow everybody to drill down on that and make that work properly. With respect to this fund in particular, I don't have immediately at hand the extent of the funds that may currently be in there. As a practical matter, this wouldn't be the only fund in which our office has multiple uses inside the same fund. One of the major funds we manage is called the Trust Investment Account, which has a number of different money streams that come into it. We account for that and make sure, of course, that funds are not commingled, they're not being used for inappropriate purposes. And so it is a standard part of work in our office to manage that type of fund where there may be a single special fund, but there are multiple uses being accounted for within it. And so we feel confident that this is certainly manageable from the financial side. And we are grateful for the legal work and financial work that went into making sure that we have legal framework in place to receive the fees. Just briefly on some of the broader substance, I will keep this very brief because I know we want to stay focused on the amendment at hand. But just briefly, I understand the committee had the opportunity to hear from one set of stakeholders yesterday on it. In discussions with our office and testimony elsewhere, many stakeholders have weighed in on this bill. All of them in favor. Those include providers, insurance companies, entities like the AARP. It also, importantly, includes other pharmacists who do not oppose or are in favor of this, and very importantly, Vermont consumers, Vermont patients who may benefit from this. The bottom line for the treasurer is that this can save Vermonters money. When we look at what has happened in Connecticut, this isn't a projection, this is what is happening in Connecticut. Consumers there see an average savings of just over $230 each month for consumers who are users of the card. If just 1% of Vermonters were to use this card and see the same level of savings, that would be an $18 million put back into Vermonters' pockets. So relatively low uptake in the state could have a dramatic savings in an area, healthcare, which is costing Vermonters a tremendous amount of money and where it's very challenging at times, often, to find places and to create places where we can save. This is one of them. And for that reason, the treasurer is happy to support this and put this forward. And the broad array of stakeholders, we've heard from a broad array of stakeholders, most of whom are favorable to this. So we appreciate the committee's time.
Any questions? Yes, Representative Bodie.
I just wanted to say, I did have concerns about accessibility as well as affordability. And then your testimony today and other things, I understand that the accessibility should not be an issue moving forward. If that was anybody else's issue, then the fact that there are other pharmacists who testified and we're okay with it, and that I don't know what they're called, the people who are the Pharmacists Association or whatever, they are maintaining neutrality, but that doesn't, they're not opposed. So that was important for me to hear.
Thanks, Representative Bodie. Any questions for David? Yeah.
This is a vague question, I guess. I don't know if you were in the room yesterday or someone from your staff in that room yesterday, but regarding what Representative Bodie was just bringing up about who's in favor and who's not, where the money goes. Yesterday, thought I heard some things that were somewhat contrary to the rosy picture about that's particularly with regard to independent pharmacy. If I was listening carefully, and there was some question about the impact on them, and I certainly at the end of yesterday's testimony was in an unresolved place as to what I thought about that. I wonder, from your perspective, if you could illuminate what we heard.
Understood. I think you did hear from a couple pharmacists who have concerns about that. I was just speaking to another independent pharmacist last night who does not share those concerns. So that is one perspective that you've heard from. It is our view that this is a card that is administered in a way that is sensitive to pharmacist concerns. And we heard a lot of testimony about that across the hall here from the folks who run ArrayRx. They live in the sort of main headquarters is in Oregon, also in Washington,
Right.
Large land area, a lot of concern there to make sure that they don't create pharmaceutical access issues. In other words, not putting pharmacists out of business. And they are very responsive to those concerns. They have a model that is very much not trying to squeeze pharmacists to the point where they are losing money on any transactions. And we believe that this is a a program and a card that is sensitive to that. I couldn't testify and promise that in every single case, things are going, every pharmacist is going to love every transaction, but we do believe that they do not, unlike other cards, which do sometimes force a pharmacist to sell at a loss.
Okay.
It is our understanding that our ARX makes sure that that does not happen to pharmacists. They also have a governance structure that is a nonprofit governance structure that would allow us to be a part of that governance structure were we to adopt it and allow us to be responsive in a direct way to the concerns that pharmacists may have. And so for all those reasons, we do think that this is a very good option. It's a nonprofit option. It's a government-run option, and it will be responsive to those concerns and will not impose the sort of cost that we're talking about. We also think it's a practical matter that this will be a very small number of transactions that we're talking about for any given pharmacy. This isn't going to be the sort of thing that will cause a huge amount of problems for any one pharmacy. It is true that independent pharmacies face a challenging economic environment.
Yeah.
We do not believe that this is going to be something that creates a critical mass of transactions such that it would add to the problem in any real way. And again, we think that it won't add to our understanding of how this works is that it won't add.
Not all my questions are resolved, but I don't have articulate better than I have already, and I'd say on everything we've heard on preponderance of the evidence you can take. That's kind of where I said that.
We appreciate that, Representative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I really appreciate all of the ideas in this project, and I'm really looking forward to moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Given that I don't have any further questions, I'd appreciate it.
Madam Chair, I would move that our committee find favorable draft number 2.3 of H577, the strike all amendment as presented.
I don't think it was a strike all. I'm gonna do that
It's
again.
not? It was before it was a strike all.
No, it was just a few instances.
Thank you for that correction. I would move that we approve version 2.3, a draft amendment to H577.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, so this is on the amendment, and then there will also be a vote. on the-
We're waiting for a second before we have a conversation. Okay, great. So Representative Kimball moved that the amendment and Representative Holcomb second, and discussion.
Again, so this is on the amendment.
Indeed.
Afterwards, we'll have a concurrent vote on bill itself, but
Indeed, the amended bill. Yes. Great. Any discussion on the amendment?
I moved it. I am still wary of the program itself, but in speaking with an independent pharmacy, it's in my area, they said this is something that we should proceed with, but cautiously.
Are you discussing the underlying thing or the amendment? Should I try that? Is it about the amendment?
Yeah,
Great.
to be clear, this amendment is about removing the fee language. So it's
And-
not about how we feel about the bill itself.
The amendment removes the fee language because the state is not involved in any fee, is not charging any fee, does not need the power to charge any fee on this. And then it expands an existing special fund, so we don't have to create a new special fund, which I feel like is a good deed for the week, personally. Yeah.
One more question.
Yes.
The language about, because that's going to be the main bill, the language about the applying the use of that card to your copay,
Mm-hmm.
that stays.
We're not touching that. Okay, anything else on the amendment? Clerk, could please call the roll for the amendment.
For the amendment.
For the amendment,
Representative Brannigan. Yes. I'll vote yes as Representative Burkhart. Representative, oh, this is an old page. That has Representative Feltus. I got surprised. There for a second. Representative Page.
Yeah.
Okay. Representative Higley.
Yes.
Representative Holcomb.
Yes.
Representative Kimball.
Yes.
Representative Maslin.
Yep.
Representative Odie.
Yes.
Representative Wazazak.
Yeah.
Representative Canfield.
Yes.
And Representative Kornheiser.
Yes.
Joey.
And the tally for the amendment is 11-0-0.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, it's Friday.
It's so
So now we have the underlying bill, H 577, and I move that we find it favorable as amended.
Thank you. Yes, great. Representative Kimball moves the bill as amended. Representative Holcomb seconds. We are talking about H 577. Any discussion? Yes, Representative Brannigan.
In my opinion, it offers a nice service to that group of Vermonters that always, in my opinion, excuse my language, seems to be hit. They're that middle group that don't get benefits from anybody, but they still have needs. They're still working hard to make ends meet at home, sending their children to school and hopefully to college after that. And saving money is hard, but this is a way that they can save a little bit of money, maybe $200 a month. That'd be great. So it's something for that small group of people, which I suppose isn't really so small, is it? That I feel encouraged about, and hopefully we can make this work for them.
Thank you. I agree. I think anything we can do to lower costs for uninsured and underinsured Vermonters is a huge step in the right direction. And I appreciate that this is an opportunity to collaborate with other states to save costs of implementation and administration. And I also really particularly appreciate the emphasis on not selling our data, which is
Yeah.
really important part of these kinds of programs and collaborations. Yeah, Representative Holcomb.
I think that's a really important point. And remember, people choose to use this program. No one's being forced to use this, but I think we undervalue the right to privacy. And the company that was used as an example yesterday is currently facing class action lawsuits for selling personal health information to digital platforms, things like Facebook. They may lose that, and if they lose that, they won't be making money off of selling your personal information, and they might not be able to even undercut RX. So I just think that we should understand that when someone's selling our data, our personal health information to we don't know who, that comes with a real price tag. And I think we need to give people the option to protect that information.
Any further discussion? Yeah.
I'll simply say that I appreciate the treasurer's efforts in saving Vermonters money. I think that's why we're all here. But I do have major concerns over regarding our pharmacists, whether it be independent or other. And based upon the testimony that we received from the association as well as the independent pharmacists, I have some concerns over this, and I'll just leave it there.
Appreciate that.
This might be a good time, Madam Chair, to reference my previous comment.
Oh, yeah.
But learned a long time ago, if something seems too good to be true, it may be too good to be true. So I'm still in that camp, but I will support the bill.
Thanks. Okay, seeing no further discussion, the clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Brannigan.
Yes.
I'll vote yes. As Representative Burkhart. Representative Page.
No.
Representative Higley.
No.
Representative Holcomb.
Yes.
Representative Kimball.
Yes.
Representative Maslin.
Yep.
Representative Odie.
Yes.
Representative Wazazak.
Yes.
Representative Canfield.
Yes.
And Representative Kornheiser.
Yes.
We have voted the bill favorable with amendment 9-0.
Thank you. And Representative Brannigan is going to report the bill. Thank you. It's going to go to appropriations from here, so it'll be a while. Who knows what will happen. Okay. Thank you everyone for a really very productive and funny week. And we'll see you Tuesday. Please be in touch over the weekend if anything comes up about any of the